Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Jack Lane. Welcome back to a brand new video here at the channel. Today we're going to talk about James Bond once again, because there's a massive casting rumor. Amazon cannot close on a deal, with an actor or a director or producers until their deal with the Broccolis is closed, and that's due to close some point in 2025. However, about an hour ago, IGN put up a thing talking about Bond. Daily Mail and Geo.tv have all been talking about the next Bond. G Honey have been talking about the next, So there's been a lot of news about who could the next Bond be. And if you haven't been checking, it's Chris Hemsworth. I'm not surprised about this, honestly. Let's click on this. James Bond will reportedly remain a man and still be British or from the Commonwealth. Pierce Brosnan insists 007 must not be an American. And Longlegs director says F Jeff Bezos. So, the James Bond rumor mill continues following the shock news that Amazon had taken full creative control of 007. And we're no closer to knowing who will play the famous spy and whatever's next. However, according to a new report, James Bond will remain a man and still be British or from the Commonwealth, ruling out the likes of Ryan Gosling. This is where the Hemsworth things come from, okay? Hemsworth made comments back in 2019 about how he, he wouldn't turn down the role of Bond. It'd be really fun. This is, of course, when Bond was made. The decision of who would be Bond was made by very tight-clawed people who made this decision, and they had to pick the right specific person for it. He said the Broccolis, they don't, you can't just go and audition for it. They contact people and go, we want to see this guy audition for the role. So Henry Cavill had a call in 2003, 2004 for it, same as Craig, and they came in and auditioned, and of course Craig got the role over Cavill. They're the two notable names for Bond, especially ever since Henry Cavill's audition got leaked. However, according to a new report, James Bond will remain a man and still be British or from the Commonwealth, ruling out Ryan Gosling. Like, if he was even a choice, I'm out. The Mail on Sunday said that Amazon circulated an international memo stipulating James Bond would not change gender or nationality under its tenure. That's sure to please Irish actor Pierce Brosnan, who played Bond in GoldenEye's Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day, from 1995 to 2002. Speaking to The Telegraph, Brosnan said it's a given that 007 should be British. However, an actor from the Commonwealth is possible, and that leaves the door open to Australian Chris Hemsworth, who has expressed his interests in playing the character in the past. So in 2019, the Thor and Extraction star told Balance magazine, after the publication pointed out his performance as British Formula One driver James Hunt made him a perfect candidate. This is what he said. When we were shooting Rush, someone had said that, and I thought, cool, if this is my audition tape, then great. I don't think you'll ever meet anyone who doesn't want to have a crack at James Bond. I'd love to do it. Of course, Chris Hemsworth, between 2013 onwards, was very busy with MCU stuff, because I think after 2013 he then had two Thor films. He then started another 3 Avengers movies, and then films took up a lot of his time. He then did Men in Black International. He then did, he went on to do Extraction after that, Extraction 2, Extraction 3 is apparently this year. So, but he's now sort of got this open schedule that's now sort of free. And of course, then he did Thor: Love and Thunder as well. So he actually did 3 Thor films after 2013's Rush. But his schedule got a lot less busier after Endgame because his character wasn't needed as much. He appeared in 4 Avengers films, right? And then them films released very closely together, 2012, 2015. And in between that, we had a 2013 Thor. So he was just filming Marvel for a long time. He'd love to have a crack at Bond. And he says, but that's up to so many elements and is way beyond myself. It's not one you can pitch yourself on to either. It's something that the community of Bond fans, Barbara Broccoli and the whole crew there agree on. And it has to be a very organic decision from them. There have been a lot of names thrown out and there are a lot of brilliant people that can tackle that one. Hemsworth comments have now resurfaced following the Mail on Sunday's report and the word that a man from the Commonwealth could play Bond. The Today Show Australia took the speculation and declares it's a surety he is in. There is a degree of concern about the future of James Bond following Amazon's acquisition and the stepping back of long-term 007 producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. We don't really need to go over this. We've gone over it many times. They've stepped down. It's good in some ways, terrible in others. I look at it from both ends. Christopher Nolan reportedly expressed interest in directing a Bond movie after Tenet, which kind of isn't true. Tenet was kind of his movie where he tried to do James Bond, but in a unique, different way, so that he took a lot of Bond elements, apparently, from that. And the reason he didn't end up doing Bond at all was because, well, there hasn't been another Bond film since, but also he wouldn't have Final Cut, which sort of meant that he was sort of out as well, but he only wanted to do the one film, and they went, no, you sign up and you do 2 or 3, and he went, no, I'm doing 1, and Christopher Nolan's that sort of director that believes, and in most cases he does. He can go, I want to do this, and I want to do 1 film, and I want to do it with this guy. And they go, yep, whatever you want. Because Christopher Nolan's a star power name. You put a Christopher Nolan film in cinemas, like Warner Brothers had exclusivity to his movies for years, right? And they botched Tenet, and stuff happened with Tenet behind the scenes. Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers seemingly fell out, and he went. He took Oppenheimer to Universal, who raked in the 995 million, whatever it was, from that film. Of course, minus your box office takes. So, Chris Hemsworth being Bond, I just want to dabble on this. He wouldn't be the first Australian to be Bond, because George Lazenby was the first Australian to be Bond. Chris Hemsworth, I'd say, actually would make a fantastic Bond. He sort of has that look, and he has that sort of tone where he could be a very good Bond. And he also has that dedication that they could do 2 films a year, and he would just do it. He's used to doing, if you look at his Marvel legacy, right? He did Thor 2011, Avengers 2012, 2013 Thor, 2014 he was doing Age of Ultron that released in 2015. He filmed in 2016 for Thor Ragnarok. 2018, 2019 he did Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. And then in 2022 he did Thor Love and Thunder. So he did, over the course of 11 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies for one franchise. So for him to go in there and they'd be like, could you do 5 movies over 10 years? He'd probably be like, yeah, I'll do that. Because by the time he gets to working on this Bond film, it'll probably be about 42, 43. By the time he finishes it, it'll be 53. It'll be Craig's sort of age. And he'd probably dip into the shows as well, He's that sort of person that would dip into things. But for Hemsworth, he's that sort of person that has a lot of movies under his belt. He's this actor that, Love him or hate him, he's a good actor. And he's always working. He was also in Doctor Strange. And he was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Sorry, I didn't even know he was in them 2 films. I know that he did Ghostbusters in 2016. That bombed. Men in Black International bombed. You know, he had a couple of bombs, but that's not been his fault. It's just been because he was cast in movies that had already had franchises with other actors that just didn't really work. I didn't realise that he was in Doctor Strange and stuff. So he actually did 2 films in 2016 and a film in 2023 and in 2022. Oh, okay. No, didn't know that. For Marvel. Oh, no, sorry, only 1 film because he wasn't in Civil War, was he? So, he's definitely got, you know, credits behind him that prove that he does literally do 1 film after another. And although he's done, you know, other films in between, if he's needed, he is dedicated to do it. It's like, oh, when do I need to be on shoot? Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I assume, don't hate me, I've not yet seen it, just because I've sort of been sleeping on that film for a little bit. Because I heard it was a very emotional film and they're not really doing anything else with that particular set of Guardians of the Galaxy characters, and I'm doing my recent MCU rewatch. But I don't know why I never watched this film, to be honest, but I just haven't yet. But I have heard very good things about it, so I have to assume he's only in it for a little bit. I don't think he was in Deadpool and Wolverine. I know he made a cameo appearance in it, because I have seen that film, but I don't think he was actually in the movie in the sense of filming. I don't know. But him being James Bond makes perfect sense, because he'd happily do, you know, your five films. 5 films over 10 years, you know, he'd happily do that. And then drop in your shows and stuff. Of course, George Lazenby played Bond. He was Australian, so this also adds more weight to it. So he's not going to get hate for being an Australian actor playing Bond. You can't do the blonde Bond stick anymore, because Craig was blonde Bond. So he's kind of coming into this a little bit perfectly. I wouldn't mind this. I don't think Aaron Taylor-Johnson's got this, to be honest. I have a feeling that Aaron Taylor-Johnson's out of the running, because he was announced last year to be Bond at some point, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then it was like, no, that's just been leaked. That's not what we're doing. And then it was really backtracked, and he was silently pushed further and further down into their top picks because of that. Because I genuinely think he was cast at one point. But I don't know whether Amazon didn't want him or whether the Broccolis didn't want him. I think the Broccolis wanted him, Amazon didn't. You know, which kind of sucks. But I'm happy for Chris Hemsworth, and if Amazon give it to him, great. If they don't, bring it on. But the latest rumour in the last 24 hours has been Bond will stay a white man, British or from the Commonwealth, and Chris Hemsworth's name has been thrown up in the last 24 hours. So with that being said, I'll see you on the next one as always. Thank you for joining in this video. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bells. And yeah, as always, stay cinematic. See you later. Goodbye for now.